diabetes management and hurdles in managing diabetes. So, according to START study, BMG opened results from dietary survey in an Indian T2DM population. 61 to 70% energy intake in Indians is through carbohydrates present in the diet. So Indian people with T2DM have high carbohydrate diet. We see this in Indian map. North, east, west and central and south part of the India, most of the people they take high carbohydrate diet, 60 to say 67% approximately compared to the proteins and fats. So in an Indian person with T2DM who eats 3 times a day, more than 50% of the day is spent in postprandial phase. See the breakfast, lunch, dinner and most of the time is in postprandial state and post-absorptive state, and fasting is very much less. And treatment strategies should address both meal related fasting hyperglycemia for optimum HbA1c control. So increased fasting plasma glucose and postprandial plasma glucose drive increase in HbA1c. A recent meta-analysis found that fasting postprandial plasma glucose has a stronger correlation with HbA1c than fasting plasma glucose. So insulin co-formulation provides total control of fasting plasma glucose, postprandial plasma glucose and in turn effective HbA1c control. So at a similar fasting plasma glucose reduction with a basal insulin, fewer Asian patients achieve targets as compared to non-Asians. See this graph. Patient level pooled analysis of 16 randomized control trials showed that assessing glycemic responses in Asian and non-Asian people with T2DM initiating insulin glargine U100. 39.6% of Asian patients achieved HbA1c less than 7% compared to non-Asian people who achieved 46.9% of non-Asian patients achieved less than 7% of HbA1c. This concludes prandial component needs to be addressed in Asians. So, distinct prandial and basal glucose lowering effects of idagasp at a steady state. So, idagasp contains basal degludec 70% and 30% of the insulin aspart. So, which maintains both basal component throughout the 24 hours and the prandial component also at the rate of when we initiate idagasp at the rate of 0.6 units per kg. So, idagasp can be a pragmatic solution for Indian realities of T2DM management at insulin initiation. So, high carbohydrate diet. The insulin idagasp tackles high carbohydrate diet with the major meal. So, we should initiate idagasp at the with the major meal. So, high postprandial glucose levels. High idagasp provides total control, effectively addressing fasting hyperglycemia without neglecting postprandial hyperglycemia, and uncontrolled on multiple OADs. Always allays fear of hypoglycemia with major meal and suits the dietary pattern, administered with flex touch device, unmatched accuracy and least injection force, and need for convenience in insulin therapy. So single injection, one insulin, one injection, one device, one site, one titration algorithm and start and stay insulin is the best insulin in Indian reality. So options for insulin initiation. So this study is conducted for from 26 weeks. 296 patients with insulin naive with T2DM were selected, and 147 patients were put on idagasp once a day along with the existing OADs, and 149 patients put on Iglar U100 once a day with OADs. So the results are seen. So 70% of the basal dose through once a day ida gas provides similar fasting plasma glucose control as compared to the once a day Iglar U100. See, there is no much difference in the HbA1c or fasting plasma glucose in with both insulin glargine U100 and ida gas once a day. Achieved the desired fasting plasma glucose levels with OD ida gas. So, OD once a day ida gas offers significantly better fasting plasma glucose control after the major meal missed by the basal insulin, which is not possible with the basal insulin. So 81% patients had dinner as their major meal. So ida gas has significantly lower postprandial increment. So there is reduction of 57.42 milligrams per deciliter, the postprandial glucose reduction with once a day ida gas. The unaddressed postprandial glucose spikes after the major meal with basal insulin Iglar U100. So by controlling postprandial glucose and fasting plasma glucose, once a day ida gas offers superior reduction in HbA1c as compared to once a day Iglar U100. So 1.4% reduction in HbA1c with ida gas from baseline. See this, both compared to the Iglar U100 and ida gas, there is a 8.4 to 7 reduction of 7 HbA1c. So significantly better HbA1c reduction ida gas versus glargine U100, and ETD is 0.3%. And options for insulin initiation, efficacy in nutshell, once a day ida gas versus once a day Iglar U100. Coming to the fasting plasma glucose, ida gas equally controls as par with the Iglar U100. And coming to the postprandial glucose, ida gas scores over Iglar U100 and decreases the postprandial glucose. And coming to the HbA1c, ida gas definitely scores over Iglar U100. So ida gas offers total control, both fasting and postprandial glucose control and HbA1c. So and hence gives superior reduction in HbA1c level. So options for insulin initiation. So improved safety of the once a day ida gas versus once a day Iglar U100. So there is overall 27% lower risk of overall confirmed hypoglycemia with ida gas, and 25% lower risk of nocturnal confirmed hypoglycemia with once a day ida gas compared with the once a day Iglar U100. So in patients uncontrolled on OADs, insulin initiation must offer better efficacy without promising on safety. So here comparison between ida gas and Iglar U100, and 43% who are put on ida gas achieved HbA1c less than 7% without hypos after 26 weeks. And when 25% of patients who are put on Iglar U100 achieved HbA1c less than 7% without hypos. So with ida gas, 72% more patients achieved their targets without experiencing hypoglycemia than once a day Iglar U100. So second one is case discussion. A patient uncontrolled on multiple OADs. So interesting. So case 1, 48-year-old IT professional with T2DM for 13 years. So 48-year-old man working as in an IT company has 13 years of history of diabetes, diagnosed with hypertension a few years ago, currently diagnosed with severe balanitis, and his current treatment is Limiprid 2 mg twice a day, metformin 500 mg twice a day, sitagliptin 100 mg once a day. That is on triple drug. Telmisartan and amlodipine 40 mg and 5 mg once a day, and atorvastatin 20 mg, aspirin 75 mg bedtime. And the patient's BMI is 26 kilograms per square meter, is overweight, and HbA1c is glycosylated hemoglobin is 11.6%, is terribly out of control, and fasting plasma glucose is 190 milligrams per deciliter, and postprandial glucose is 290 milligrams per deciliter, totally out of control. And is an IT professional, na? He walks for 20 to 30 minutes per day, and he takes 1400 kilocalories diet per day, and he is an IT guy working for US timings and leading his team of 12 IT guys, and he has erratic and irregular eating patterns. Insulin was the obvious choice, but patient was very hesitant and asked for any other OHA, but patient has severe Bellinitis, so we cannot put him on SGLT2 because of his genitourinary infections. So it was discussed but not given. So patient uncontrolled on multiple OADs diagnosis, uncontrolled T2DM for a long duration, more than 11 years, 13 years. He had infections, Bellinitis, severe Bellinitis, and has comorbidities like hypertension and dyslipidemia, and has busy and erratic lifestyle. He needs right insulin therapy. So reasons to choose Idagasp in this patient. So he is insulin naive with inadequate response to triple oral therapy, and he has complications and comorbidities coupled with high glycosylated hemoglobin levels, and he has erratic eating patterns and high postprandial glucose levels. A basal insulin was discussed, but patient said he cannot take it bedtime as he comes home very late. He agreed for Idagasp once daily before breakfast. In view of high HbA1c, patient needed to control both fasting blood sugars and postprandial blood sugars for better health, quality of life, and outcomes. So, patient uncontrolled on multiple OADs, how to initiate and optimize the Idagasp. So, Ryzodec was started with 14 units before breakfast from 0 week, and titrated to up to 12 weeks, and target of fasting blood glucose less than 120 and postprandial blood sugars less than 180 was given to be checked once in 3 to 4 days. If either went up, patient was told to increase 3 to 4 units or to reduce 2 units in case of hypo. Diet timings were retold, and self-monitoring of blood glucose was discussed, and genital hygiene was thought. So, see the dose. Started with 14 units once a day before breakfast, and titrate to 22 units after 6 weeks, and titrate to 30 units after 12 weeks. And see the reduction of fasting plasma glucose from 190 milligrams per deciliter from 0 weeks to 135 milligrams per deciliter after 6 weeks, and less than 120 milligrams after 12 weeks. And coming to the post breakfast, 290 milligrams per deciliter from 0 weeks to 190 milligrams per deciliter after 6 weeks, and less than 180 milligrams after 12 weeks. And coming to HbA1c reduction from 11.6% from 0 weeks to 9% after 6 weeks, and 7.2% after 12 weeks. It's an optimal glycosylated hemoglobin. So, and coming to weight, his weight is 62 kilos at 0 weeks and 62.4 kilos after 12 weeks. There is a marginal difference of 400 grams. So, patient uncontrolled on multiple OADs, initiating optimizing Idagasp. So, oral medications, sitagliptin, metformin was continued along with drugs for hypertension. And Idagasp 14 units with breakfast, largest meal for this patient, titrated to 30 units of over 12 weeks. And results at the end of the 12 weeks, fasting plasma glucose is less than 120 milligrams per deciliter, post breakfast is less than 180 milligrams per deciliter, and HbA1c decreased from 11.6 to 7.2%, and 400 grams weight gain, and only one episode of hypoglycemia. So, IDA-GASP helped to reduce glycosylated hemoglobin from 11.6% to 7.2% in 90 days with no weight gain or hypo, and total control of both postprandial glucose and fasting plasma glucose. So, coming to the case 2. A 60-year-old retired bank employee with T2DM for 11 years, long duration. So, a 60-year-old retired bank employee has 11 years history of diabetes, T2DM, diagnosed with hypertension a few years ago. She has mild non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy and diabetic peripheral neuropathy. That is, she has both microvascular complications, retinopathy and neuropathy. So, diabetic kidney disease must be ruled out. So, his current treatment is glimepiride and metformin 2 milligrams and 500 milligrams combination twice a day, and tablet vildagliptin 50 milligrams twice a day, empagliflozin 25 milligrams half once a day, amlodipine perindropil once a day, and rosuvastatin 10 milligrams once a day, and calcium plus vitamin D3 once a day. BMI is 25 kilograms per square meter, overweight, and she is a homemaker, and her HbA1c is 8.9%, so it's out of control. Postprandial glucose is 140 to 160 milligrams per deciliter, and postprandial glucose is more than 250 milligrams per deciliter, and she tried alpha-glucosidase inhibitors but had to stop because of gastrointestinal issues. So, basal glargine would not have helped her postprandial blood sugar control. So, long-term complications of diabetes have set in. So, coming to the diagnosis, patient uncontrolled on multiple OADs and uncontrolled T2DM for a long duration, more than 11 years, with diabetic neuropathy, non-proliferative retinopathy, hypertension, dyslipidemia, needs right insulin therapy to prevent further complications. So, reasons to choose IDA-GASP in this patient. She is insulin naive with inadequate response to multiple oral therapy. She has complications, microvascular complications and comorbidities, hypertension, dyslipidemias, coupled with high HbA1c level. She has high postprandial glucose levels. Despite being on prescribed dietary patterns, she needs total and tight glycemic control for better health, quality of life and outcomes. So she was started on Ryzodec 12 units before breakfast, and self-monitoring of blood glucose and dosage adjustments were thought. So, patient initiating and optimizing IDA-GASP. So, we started IDA-GASP with 12 units at 0 weeks and titrated to 10 units after 12 weeks. So, they are coming to the fasting plasma glucose 140 to 160 at the starting point, and after 12 weeks it has come down to less than 110 milligrams per deciliter, and post breakfast more than 250 milligrams at 0 weeks, and it has come down to less than 190 milligrams after 12 weeks. So coming to the HbA1c, from 8.9% to reduction, they reduced to 6.8% after 12 weeks. It is a desired HbA1c level in such with complications, T2DM uncontrolled with complications. She has to maintain strict glycemic control, and there is no difference in the weight, 60 and 60 kilos, and no episode of hypoglycemia. So oral medications was continued along with drugs for hypertension. So IDA-GASP 12 units with breakfast, largest meal for this patient, so titrated down to 10 units for 12 weeks. At the end of 12 weeks, results were fasting plasma glucose less than 110 milligrams per deciliter and post breakfast is less than 190 milligrams per deciliter. HbA1c decreased from 8.9% to 6.8%. No hypoglycemic episodes and no weight gain reported. So coming to summary. T2DM is a progressive disease, as you know, with progressive loss of beta cell function. So more than 50% of the beta cell function could be lost by the time of T2DM diagnosis. I think is wrong. Is more than 80% of beta cells were lost by the time of T2DM diagnosis, as per latest guidelines. When uncontrolled on maximal dose of 3 OADs, insulin should be considered without any therapeutic inertia to improve control and treatment outcomes. High carbohydrate diet, high PPC contribution to hyperglycemia, inadequate control, and need for simplicity and convenience are the Indian realities which need individualized care. Idogasp and insulin co-formulation can address the above Indian realities and strengthen timely insulin initiation for better diabetes control. Thank you.